tissue lies, straight up busted on family ties. Super G supposedly
Banging in Brooklyn, grinding in Greenpoint, doing work in Williamsburg, and occasionally making moves in Manhattan. This is Fight Fuel MMA. I am Dave Clifford, aka at Fishy Fridge on Twitter.
And I am Joy, at JoyGNY on Twitter.
And this is Fight Fuel MMA's McGregor vs. Mayweather post-fight reactions. It was a fight. It happened. They hyped it, they signed contracts, they got in a ring and they fought.
Yeah, it went down last night, which was August 26th.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday night. I don't think they started fighting till maybe the 27th.
It was after midnight.
New York time.
They were delaying the fight because they were having so many problems with the pay-per-view.
Yeah, so we'll give you a little rundown on our side of what happened. So Dave started off.
Well, basically I rush home from work, all excited to watch this fight. I go to Fight Pass and I can't get on Fight Pass.
Crashed.
So my head starts to explode. Took Saturday night off. My head continues to explode for the next 45 minutes as I gotta go to Showtime pay-per-view. Fight Pass still won't work. I'm trying to stream through Safari. I'm trying to stream through Firefox. Finally, an hour later, I get this shit up using Chrome on my computer plugged into my TV. You had to be dedicated to want to watch this fight.
Yeah, unless you ordered the fight hours before, which is what I heard a lot of people say that they did. So we didn't know.
So I heard Ellerby talking about order this fight days before because we're worried about technical problems, the day of. And I'm like, just trying to get more people to buy the fight right away. Guaranteed buys. I'm not doing that. Forget you. I'm ordering it at 10 o'clock on Saturday night.
Yeah.
That didn't work out so well.
No. But, needless to say, through Showtime we were able to watch the fights. Fight Pass, UFC, really fucked up.
Fight Pass shit the bed. People are getting fired today.
Yeah. Someone's getting fired. Someone's may have death threats. Who knows? And they kept saying, technical difficulties, we'll be right back. And then at the very last minute, they tweeted out, go to Showtime to download.
UFC Fight Pass's Twitter account is telling you to go to Showtime to watch the fights.
Yeah, that's bad. That's a loss.
Problems right there.
That's a huge loss.
I can't imagine how much money they lost on that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how the numbers go downloading it or getting it through Fight Pass versus getting it through Showtime, what the dollar signs end up being on the bottom line, but I could imagine that it was somewhat catastrophic.
It's safe to assume they lost a shitload of money.
Yeah, so, but that all aside, technical difficulties aside, I guess that's a good thing. It's a bad thing, but it's also a good thing as far as buzz. This fight created a shit ton of buzz. Everyone. I was not expecting everyone to be talking about it, but everyone was talking about it.
The 2 days leading up to the fight at work, all different demographics. I mean, old people, young people, men, women, black, white. Everybody was talking about the fight. It was an event. It was a spectacle. It was, in terms of marketing and publicity, it was more than a fight. Spectacle's the right way to describe it.
Yes, they definitely promoted this fight perfectly in every which way, with some small things aside, which we'll get to, is our 3-part Mayweather series, which, shameless self-promotion, we have part 1 up. That's been up for a while. It was leading up to the fight. We broke down the fight as a fight for each competitor. Part 2 is going to come out soon. We wanted to wait till after the fight to get the reaction from the fans. And then part 3, it seems it's going to take a little bit of time afterwards to get the bottom line money breakdown. That's going to be part 3 for the funds. So those will be coming up. But that aside,
we could finally talk about the fight because it finally happened.
Yes. Hindsight's 20/20, right? Leading up to the fight, we both thought that Mayweather was going to win. They promoted it perfectly. Mayweather came out of retirement. He was retired for 2 years, coming off of that huge fight between himself and Manny Pacquiao, which was, according to most of the fans and most of the press, it was a boring fight.
It was a terrible fight.
Mayweather did what he had to do to win, and in hindsight, looking at it now, Mayweather wanted to come out of retirement only to fight McGregor, who was like kind of egging him on, smart man, because and I didn't realize this till after the fight, Mayweather put on a really boring fight for his last ever fight. He wanted to prove everyone wrong and be like, look, I don't put on boring fights. I will be on a 2-year layoff. I'm gonna come back at 40 years old, and I'm gonna come forward, and I'm gonna knock him out. Technically.
Well, this is what Mayweather was saying. He seemed emphatic that the fight was not going to go the distance. He was going to get a knockout. McGregor was saying the same thing. I'm going to get a knockout. McGregor's claims were a little more outlandish, like I'm going to knock Mayweather out in 2 rounds. Mayweather just said it won't go the distance. Now, I think Mayweather was doing a lot of rewriting history here. Yes, the Pacquiao fight was boring, but a lot of Mayweather's fights were boring. I think he seized on an opportunity here to say, I didn't deliver in the Pacquiao fight. This fight was for my fans. That's why I went out there to knock him out. I think he looked at who he had in front of him, hatched a game plan, and realized, yeah, he could knock McGregor out if he tired him out early and moved in for the kill later in the fights.
Yeah.
Now, we had both talked about this. We had said that we thought Mayweather was going to stay away the beginning 3 rounds, start to pick it up 4th, 5th, and 6th, and then move in for the kill 7, 8, 9. We were 1 round off. Mayweather managed to finish the fight in the 10th via TKO, which is what we called do more to fatigue on McGregor's part than power on Mayweather's part.
Yeah.
We've seen this before in McGregor's MMA fights, especially both Diaz's fights. His conditioning failed him colossally in the first fight, and in the second fight he was struggling. He mastered, but he was struggling to make that final bell.
Yeah, but Mayweather knew that, and Mayweather picked the perfect opponent to exact the game plan that he had set to make up for boring fights, to make money, right? That's what he's all about, and to do it in such a way that he can retire. And also, his game plan made McGregor look pretty good for the first couple rounds. His game plan was to let him throw the punches and to come forward. However, looking back on it, you see, like, oh, that was part of the game plan to let McGregor, blow his wad. As
Mayweather said. Now, there's 2 ways I think you could read this. McGregor fans are going to say, Conor did what he should have done. He went out there, came on strong in the first few rounds when his opportunity for a knockout finish was the greatest. Yes, he got tired, but in those early rounds, he was pushing the pace, and, he was landing good shots on Mayweather. Mayweather fans could look at it and say, of course he was landing shots on Mayweather. This was all Mayweather's plan. Give him the first few rounds and come on strong in the later rounds. Now, if you look at it objectively, it was almost like both their game plans worked together to make what turned out to be a really good fight. Like Joy was saying,
it made a great fight,
Mayweather took those first few rounds to let McGregor tire, and McGregor wanted to get that finish early, so you got a fun first 3 rounds, and then later in the fight, Mayweather's boxing skill and ring IQ took over, and he was able to get that finish via TKO stoppage.
There's 2 things about that. The first thing is game plan, exacting a game plan. And we've seen game plans similar to this when you're dealing with an opponent that is dealing with someone that's bigger and stronger, or longer and leaner. And McGregor said it best himself. He's got 20 pounds on him. And he boasted about it in the fight. He cut a decent amount of weight to get down to that weight, which is a perfect fighting weight for him. What was it, 150?
153 for McGregor. That's
perfect fighting weight for him, yeah. His fight weight class is 155 in MMA, and I think that's perfect for him. Mayweather is the smaller guy. Mayweather, for the first time, was fighting someone taller with a longer reach, so he had to change his game plan to his previous opponents. In addition, MMA to boxing. So boxing is a aspect of MMA. So McGregor is known for his stand-up. He's known for his hands. So he has boxing in his arsenal. His footwork and his angles and his awkward style in regards to putting those skill sets in a boxing match. So Mayweather had to deal with that as well, and he handled it perfectly. Another thing is, I don't know if this was part of his game plan, he never said it himself, but I have said this in the past, seeing the McGregor-Diaz 1 fight, McGregor doesn't like to get hit in the face. So he hit him in the face a bunch of times, and although McGregor said it was an early stoppage, there was no winning for him at that point. Like, he wasn't going to win.
By the end of the ninth round, McGregor was done.
Got hit in the face.
Joy and I go back and forth about this a lot. I don't think McGregor has a bad chin. I don't think he minds getting hit that much. I don't see like that kind of Brock Lesnar fatal flaw in McGregor where if you hit him, he's going to shell up. I think it's his cardio.
It's a combination of the two.
And he should have addressed that. This is by and far the biggest thing he could have worked on to prepare himself for this fight. You know it could be a 12-round fight. Yeah. You know if you don't put Floyd away early, you might be in for a long fight. You've got to get your cardio up to peak condition to where you can go the 12 rounds. Yeah. I don't think it was Floyd's punching power. I don't even think it was...
he got some good shots on him. You saw that one Nike snot coming out of McGregor's nose.
I saw him knock the snot out his nose. I'm just saying
But he's not a power puncher. He's not known for that.
It was McGregor's conditioning that opened the door for that TKO stoppage. And Floyd knew it was going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. Like, you can't... Everyone... A lot of people that I talked to, and a lot of the betting lines was just ridiculous. McGregor has a persuasive... he's very good at publicly speaking in a persuasive manner, so people just rally behind him and believe him. Awesome for him. However, in reality, in the real world, he had an opponent who has so many years of professional experience and a fight IQ in boxing that is unmatched, let alone someone who is 0-0 in professional boxing. So it's just like, come on, like, you really think that you're going to outsmart a professional boxer who's 49-0 and could be arguably one of the greatest of his particular genre, defensive boxing, counter-punching? You're gonna outwork someone like that? Like no, you're not. So, but it was cool that he was able to get people behind him and get people to bet tons of money on him, which is sad for the people that did.
Yeah, but McGregor was not a smart bet at any odds.
No.
Now, here's the thing about this fight. Mayweather fought different than how he has in the past. Now, he said he wanted to go for that knockout. Mayweather pushed forward. If you go back and watch that fight, McGregor was on his heels more than Floyd Mayweather in that fight. And if you've got Floyd Mayweather pushing the pace on you, that means that he does not respect your power enough to cause him to fight defensively.
Yeah.
McGregor's biggest asset, the big left hand, the power in his hands, it did not translate into last night's boxing match.
No, and so the first 3 rounds are what are arguably like his best rounds, and what the judges gave him points on.
Yeah, I think the first 3 rounds you could easily
fans,
say.
like, yeah, watching it, he had, and this was part of Mayweather's plan. He knew, and if you, in what I wanted to say before, and I didn't touch on it, was if you look at other fighters in MMA, like game plans, at least I know, because I watch, mostly MMA, so I can apply it to other fighters' game plans in that genre. Like Jan Jacek, like Whitaker, when they fight bigger, stronger, faster opponents, they needed to shell up for the first 2 rounds and then come forward 3, 4, and 5. Jan Jacek versus Gedalia 2 for the 5-round fight. Whitaker versus Romero just recently for the interim belt. He knew he had to shell up for the first 2 rounds, and then he came forward. And this is a very similar plan that Mayweather had, because it makes sense. Taller, longer, leaner, weighs more than him. is known for power, but is also known to fade. So this was like the perfect game plan for him. So, I mean, that happened. It made McGregor look great. In the first 3 rounds, he came forward, and Mayweather didn't back down. But everyone was expecting, who bet on McGregor, for him to hit that left and just knock the shit out of Mayweather. But it didn't happen.
The straight left
didn't
KO
hurt him.
punch never materialized.
No.
With McGregor, what I saw him doing was pacing himself a lot. A lot of the shots he threw were half power shots.
Yes.
Not unlike the way Nate Diaz throws punches. He was popping punches out to touch, to score.
A lot of touching to score.
But not with fight-ending intentions.
No.
Now, I think he was doing that because he knows himself. He could talk about being ready to go 12 rounds all day, every day, but he knows he's not. Did not want to drain himself too early. He wound up draining himself anyway, but he did stretch the fight out to the 10th by conserving as much energy as he could.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was, I mean, you could say what you want to the people, but as far as, like, his actual game plan, top secret game plan, like, who knows if they'll ever release it, but maybe he was like, I know I'm not going to win, but I don't want to pull a CMPunk and, like, just suck. Like, I want to, like, show, like, look, I could go however many rounds. And maybe that was his actual game plan, to go out on his shield.
I think he thought he was going to win. I thought he was fighting to win the best way that he could. But I think somewhere around the 5th and 6th round, it entered to his mind the gas tank is low. And he had to know that he was going to fight in bursts if he was going to win. It's just cardio, cardio, cardio. You hear Dominic Cruz talk about this. He gets frustrated when fighters run out of gas. He says cardio is the one thing you are 100% in control of yourself in the fight. Prepare for a full-length fight.
Yeah. But, you know, is some of that just genetics? Like, I feel like there are some fighters who, just fighters that I can think of off the top of my head. Nate Diaz, David Branch,
Rob St. Pierre,
GSP, Bisping, Jan Jedrzejczyk.
You're asking, is there cardio-genetic or a product of hard work?
I mean, is it, or is it a combination of the two?
I think it's a combination of the two. I think it's a combination of the two.
So, I mean, some people just can... I know my cardio shit, and I train all the time. I train 5 to 6 times a week, but my cardio is shit, and it's just like, I'm trying. So I don't know if it's just because it's my predisposition or what, but you can't be good at everything. I mean, unless you're Mighty Mouse. Mighty Mouse.
But that's the thing. Even if you're not predisposed to having good cardio, then put more time into it.
Exactly.
You're a professional, you got to be able to go 12 rounds, in this case, in boxing.
Yeah. Yeah. How many times have we seen McGregor even go 5 rounds? I've personally only seen it once.
In the UFC, we saw the one fight with Diaz, and he sucked it up, but he was tired by the end of the third round.
But he had to put a measured pace on his fight. He wasn't looking for that 13-second knockout like he did with Aldo.
Now, I think if you go back and you watch McGregor's career in the UFC, I think those 2 Nate Diaz fights taught him a phenomenal amount. I think if you get McGregor pre those Diaz fights and have him fight Mayweather, I think he blows his wad completely within the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, because he thought he was better than God.
After the 2 Diaz fights, he got humbled a bit in the first one, got choked out. In the second one, he realized sometimes you got to go the distance. I think those 2 fights allowed McGregor to fight Floyd Mayweather somewhat competitively throughout the course of the fight.
Yeah, and with all of that knowledge and experience, he took it and he was able to put on an exciting Mayweather boxing match where Mayweather's 40 years old. So, hey, that's awesome. Like, we all, like, as fans, got to see an exciting boxing match. That
was the thing I was most happy about.
Yeah.
Waiting through, trying to buy the pay-per-view, sitting through the undercard, which I was not particularly interested in, getting to the main event and just saying, God, I hope this fight is not boring as shit. And it wasn't. It was a good fight.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, who knows what really went on behind closed doors. But as far as like their game plans, like both of them ended up looking really great at the end. Like McGregor had his 3 rounds where he pushed the pace and he brought it to Mayweather, and that was amazing to see, especially for any MMA fan who is just like, look, see, we can do everything. MMA fighters can do everything, and he took it to one of the best ever. So that was great to see. It was also great to see Mayweather execute a game plan to pretty much perfection, and to just see that he is still able to put on a great fight. So that was great. Redemption for him. Awesome. Getting the 50-0, like, that's amazing.
For Mayweather, that's big.
Yeah, and then also, in addition, the stoppage which McGregor contested was somewhat suspect and somewhat early. I don't believe it was. And also, even though he's saying that, I think that was the best kind of stoppage he could ask for, because he was able for the ref to come in and stop it. He didn't go in for a takedown and get choked out and tap, I mean, of course that couldn't have happened, but it's not like he got knocked out and he fell to the canvas and it was like, that sucks.
McGregor looked good. He was fighting till the end. He was fighting till the end. He was trying to stay standing. Now we could say the ref jumped in a little early. I had more in me. And you could still say until the end, he did not go down. He was fighting.
Absolutely. So I think that was great. The ref came in and saved him. Mayweather said it best himself in the post-fight press conference. Like, he was saving his future. Like, who wants to get hit in the head that much? Like, he's a new father. He's, embarking on a family life. Like, and also, like, he could technically just retire and never have to fight again because he has so much money now. So, like, why would you want to get hit in the head for what?
Pride. I would have been okay. I would have been okay with the ref letting him go longer with him getting knocked out.
I was totally fine with the stoppage.
I was okay with the stoppage, though. So, what do we have for a takeaway from this fight? I've got 2. The first is this fight shows for McGregor how he has grown as a fighter. He managed to go in with a game plan, last 10 out of the 12 rounds with Floyd. Didn't embarrass himself, looked pretty good, got good offense in. Like I said, I think he learned a lot from the Diaz fights. I think he should be giving Nate Diaz credit for making him a better fighter. Second takeaway for me, Floyd should not fight again for any amount of money.
No, and he said it himself. He's done. There's no reason to. He had the perfect opponent to put for redemption, for a guaranteed win. I'm sorry to say it, but a guaranteed win and an impressive win and a lot of freaking money. Holy crap, they made so much money. It's ridiculous. So, like, there is no incentive for him to fight again. Retire, enjoy your retirement.
Retire, enjoy retirement, because the Floyd who fought Conor last night was not the Floyd who would have fought him 5 years ago. 5 years ago,
You even said that.
It would have been a much different fight.
He even said that.
I think this fight gave Floyd a chance to go out on top before his skills are too noticeably diminished. This is the time for Floyd. This is the fight to exit on.
Yeah, so it was perfect. It was such a perfect fight. With all the snafus aside, with the fight pass crash and, whatever, and some maybe racist comments during the lead up to the match, but we'll get to that in later videos for our 3-part series. Honestly, great fight. I'm glad we bought the pay-per-view. I'm glad we watched it. I'm glad we were all able to, as MMA fans, as boxing fans, as whomever, watch an exciting fight. What's next? I don't think McGregor should fight again. He's got tons of money.
I think he should fight again. I think he should go back to the UFC and defend his lightweight title. I'd like to see it. I want to see what he comes back looking like.
I mean, yeah, I would love to see it, but I personally don't think he should. That's just my opinion.
Definitely fight, still in his prime. Go back to the UFC.
Nah.
Well, it's too soon to tell what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's also too soon to tell what the buys were. I wasn't able to find it. If I find it, I'll link it. I'll write it somewhere. Somewhere here.
We'll get it in the description. Yeah. Like we said, check back with us soon for Maymac, the fight for the fans and the fight for the funds. For now, signing out from Brooklyn. Thanks for watching. Catch you soon.
Same thing that it's real life. No Joe Rogan, no bright lights, no scorpions, and no snake bites. Let's rap that niggas get stage fright.